I destroyed 3 marriages with a single click. Not on purpose. Not because I'm a bad person. But because I accepted a friend request from someone I hadn't seen in 15 years. Her name was Jennifer Miller. We went to high school together. And that one tiny decision, that thoughtless tap on my phone screen at 11:43 on a Tuesday night, set off a chain reaction that would tear apart my world, her world, and the world of a woman I'd never even met. By the time it was over, there would be divorce papers, restraining orders, and a community meeting where my name was said out loud like a curse word. But here's the thing nobody tells you about affairs. They don't always start with attraction. Sometimes they start with nostalgia. Sometimes they start with loneliness. And sometimes they start with a notification that says someone from your past wants to reconnect. This is the story of how I became the villain in 3 different families. And I need to tell you everything, because what happened next, what we all did to each other, it changed the way I understand love, loyalty, and the dangerous fantasy we all carry that somewhere out there is a life we were supposed to live. My name is David. I'm 42 years old. I live in Riverside, Ohio. It's one of those suburbs where everyone knows everyone, where the houses all look similar, where people wave at each other while mowing their lawns on Saturday mornings. I've been married to my wife Sarah for 18 years. We have 2 kids. Ethan is 14. Maddie is 11. On paper, my life looked perfect. But if I'm being honest with you, really honest, I was lonely. Not the kind of lonely where you don't have people around you. The kind where you're surrounded by people but you still feel invisible. Sarah and we'd become roommates more than lovers. We talked about the kids, about bills, about whose turn it was to take out the trash. But we didn't talk about dreams anymore. We didn't laugh the way we used to. When I looked at her, I saw someone tired. And I knew when she looked at me, she probably saw the same thing. A man who worked too much. A man who'd gained weight. A man who'd stopped trying to be interesting. That Tuesday night, I was sitting on the couch after everyone had gone to bed. I was scrolling through Facebook the way you do when you can't sleep and you don't want to think too hard about your life. And that's when I saw it. Friend request from Jennifer Miller. The profile picture showed a woman with blonde hair, a bright smile, and these eyes I remembered from chemistry class. Jennifer had been popular in high school. Not mean popular. The kind where everyone genuinely liked her. She'd been a cheerleader. She'd dated the quarterback. And I'd been the nerdy kid who sat behind her in 3 different classes and never said more than hello. I clicked accept without thinking twice about it. Within minutes, a message popped up. David Harris? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I found you. How have you been? We started chatting. Just casual stuff at first. Remember this teacher? Remember that party? Remember when Tommy Ferguson set off the fire alarm trying to impress that girl? The conversation felt easy. It felt light. For the first time in months, I felt like someone was actually interested in what I had to say. Over the next few weeks, Jennifer and I messaged every day. I learned that she lived just 20 minutes away. She'd moved to Riverside 3 years ago with her husband Mark and their daughter Sophia. She worked as a dental hygienist. She loved gardening. She complained about her marriage in the same way I complained about mine. Not with anger. Just with this quiet sadness. This feeling that somewhere along the way, the person you married became a stranger. I should have stopped there. I should have seen what was happening. But I didn't. Because Jennifer made me feel young again. She made me feel seen. And when you've been invisible for long enough, that feeling becomes addictive. One night, she sent me a message that changed everything. Want to grab coffee sometime? It would be nice to catch up in person. My hand hovered over the phone for a full minute. I knew what saying yes meant. Not that we were going to have an affair, but that I was taking a step towards something I shouldn't. Still, I typed back. Yeah, that sounds great. We met at a Starbucks halfway between our houses. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I'd told Sarah I had a dentist appointment. The lie came so easily it scared me. Jennifer was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, wearing a blue sweater that made her eyes look even brighter. When she smiled at me, something in my chest tightened. Not just attraction. Recognition. Like I was looking at a door I'd forgotten existed. We talked for 2 hours. About high school. About our kids. About the ways life hadn't turned out quite like we'd imagined. She told me that Mark, her husband, worked constantly. That he barely noticed her anymore. That sometimes she felt like a ghost in her own house. I told her about Sarah. About how we'd stopped having real conversations. About how I couldn't remember the last time we'd kissed without it being just routine. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd dated in high school? Jennifer asked suddenly. The question hung in the air between us like smoke. I should have laughed it off. Should have changed the subject. Instead, I said, sometimes. Yeah. She reached across the table and touched my hand. Just for a second. But that second rewired something in my brain. When I drove home that day, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. And that feeling was dangerous. Because it made me want more. Jennifer and I started meeting regularly. Always in public places at first. Coffee shops. The park. Once, we walked around the mall like teenagers, laughing at stupid things, stealing glances at each other when we thought the other wasn't looking. We told ourselves we were just friends. That we were helping each other through rough patches in our marriages. But we both knew we were lying. The texts became more frequent. More intimate. Good morning messages. Good night messages. Thinking about you messages. I started deleting conversations so Sarah wouldn't see them. I started showering as soon as I got home from meeting Jennifer, washing away the guilt along with her perfume. And the worst part was, I didn't feel as guilty as I should have. Because for the first time in years, I felt wanted. Then came the night we crossed the line. We'd agreed to meet at a wine bar in the next town over, somewhere we wouldn't run into anyone we knew. The conversation started the same as always. But there was an energy between us that night. A tension. When Jennifer looked at me, her eyes said what her mouth wouldn't. And when I walked her to her car, when we stood there in the parking lot under the streetlights, when she leaned in and kissed me, I didn't pull away. I kissed her back. And in that moment, I became a cheater. The affair became a second life. I was two different people. At home, I was David the husband, David the father, going through the motions, smiling at dinner, helping with homework, kissing Sarah on the forehead before bed. But in stolen moments throughout the day, I was someone else. Someone who sent secret texts. Someone who lied about working late. Someone who met Jennifer in hotel rooms and pretended the rest of the world didn't exist. We were careful. Or at least we thought we were. We never went to the same place twice. We used cash instead of cards. We created fake names for each other in our phones. Jennifer was saved as a Jim from work in mine. I was Diane from book club in hers. The deception became second nature. And the sickest part was, I was good at it. But guilt has a way of seeping through even the best lies. I started having trouble sleeping. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning next to Sarah and feel this crushing weight on my chest. Sometimes I'd look at my kids at breakfast and wonder what they'd think of me if they knew. Maddie would climb into my lap and say, "I love you, Daddy," and I'd hold her tight and hate myself. Jennifer felt it too. She'd cry sometimes after we were together. Not because she regretted it, but because we both knew it couldn't last. "What are we doing, David?" she'd ask. And I never had a good answer. We talked about leaving our spouses, about starting over together. But it always felt like fantasy. Because the reality was too complicated. Too messy. Too real. Then something happened that neither of us expected. Jennifer's husband Mark started suspecting something. She told me he'd been acting strange. Checking her phone when she was in the shower. Asking more questions about where she'd been. One night, he followed her. She'd told him she was going to Target. Instead, she met me at our usual spot, a quiet restaurant 30 miles from home. Mark saw us. Saw the way we sat close to each other. Saw the way she touched my arm. Saw the kiss, goodbye, in the parking lot. He didn't confront her that night. He did something worse. He started gathering evidence. Taking photos. Tracking her location. Building a case. And he told someone. His best friend Craig. Craig Anderson. Who happened to be married to Sarah's best friend from college. Amanda Anderson. The walls started closing in fast. Amanda invited Sarah to lunch. She'd been debating whether to tell her. Whether it was her place. But she decided that if she were being cheated on, she'd want to know. So over salads at Panera, Amanda told Sarah that Mark had caught his wife having an affair. And that the man Jennifer was seeing, the man destroying Mark's marriage, was me. Sarah didn't believe it at first. She told Amanda there had to be a mistake. That I would never do that. That we'd been together 18 years. But Amanda showed her the photos Mark had shared. Photos of me and Jennifer holding hands. Photos of us kissing. Photos that left no room for doubt. Sarah drove home in a daze. She told me later that she kept thinking it couldn't be real. That any minute she'd wake up and her life would make sense again. When I got home from work that day, she was sitting at the kitchen table. The photos were spread out in front of her like a crime scene. Our kids were at a neighbor's house. And the look on Sarah's face, I'll never forget it. Not anger. Not yet. Just this broken confusion. Like she was looking at a stranger. "Who is she?" Sarah asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. I wanted to lie. I wanted to make up some excuse. But the evidence was right there. So I told her the truth. Or some version of it. I told her about Jennifer. About the friend request. About how it started as just talking. About how I never meant for it to go as far as it did. And as I spoke, I watched my wife's face transform. The confusion turned to pain. The pain turned to rage. She screamed at me. Threw one of the photos at my chest. Called me every name I deserved. She wanted to know how long. Where. How many times. Did I love Jennifer? Did I ever think about our kids? About our vows? About everything we'd built together? I had no good answers. Just excuses that sounded hollow even to me. I was lonely. I felt invisible. She made me feel alive. Every word was true. And every word was pathetic. Sarah told me to get out. To pack a bag and leave. That she needed time to think. To figure out what she was going to do. As I threw clothes into a suitcase, I could hear her crying in our bedroom. That sound haunted me more than any of her screaming. Because I'd done that. I'd taken the woman I'd promised to love and protect and I'd destroyed her. But the nightmare was just beginning. Because while my marriage was falling apart, so was Jennifer's. And so was a third marriage I didn't even know was connected to all of this. Here's where it gets complicated. Mark, Jennifer's husband, didn't just tell Craig about the affair. Craig told Amanda. Amanda told Sarah. But Craig also told someone else. His sister Rachel. Rachel Montgomery. Who happened to be married to Jennifer's ex-boyfriend from high school. Tom Montgomery. The quarterback Jennifer used to date. The one she'd mentioned casually in our conversations. The one she said she'd kept in touch with over the years. What I didn't know, what Jennifer had never told me, was that she and Tom had reconnected a few years ago. Nothing physical. Just friendly messages here and there. Check-ins. Birthday wishes. But those messages had become more frequent lately. More intimate. Because Jennifer wasn't just having an affair with me. She was having an emotional affair with Tom. And when Tom's wife Rachel heard about Jennifer's affair with me, she started digging. She went through Tom's phone while he was sleeping. And she found months of conversations between Tom and Jennifer. Conversations where they talked about their feelings. About regrets. About what could have been. Rachel confronted Tom the same day Sarah confronted me. Tom initially denied it. Said they were just friends. But Rachel showed him the messages. Showed him how Jennifer talked about missing him. About wondering what life would have been like if they'd stayed together. And Tom, to his credit, broke down. He admitted he'd been emotionally cheating. That he'd been fantasizing about Jennifer. That he'd been unhappy in his marriage for years. Rachel told him to leave. So now there were 3 marriages crumbling. Mine. Jennifer's. And Tom's. All because of a Facebook friend request. The news spread through Riverside like wildfire. Small towns thrive on gossip, and this was the juiciest story anyone had heard in years. People took sides. Some blamed me. Some blamed Jennifer. Some blamed all of us. Parents at my kids' school started whispering when I dropped them off. Sarah's friends stopped calling. Even my own mother, when she found out, told me she was disappointed in me. That she'd raised me better than that. Jennifer tried to reach out to me during all of this. She sent messages saying we needed to talk. That maybe this was a sign we should just be together. That maybe something good could come from all this pain. But I couldn't do it anymore. Because I'd finally seen what I'd done. Not just to Sarah. But to my kids. To Mark. To Rachel and Tom. To everyone whose life I'd touched with my selfishness. I told Jennifer we needed to stop. That it was over. She didn't take it well. She showed up at the hotel where I was staying, crying, begging me not to give up on us. She said she was leaving Mark anyway. That we could start fresh. But I told her the truth. That what we had wasn't real. It was an escape. A fantasy. And fantasies don't survive in the real world. The next few months were the darkest of my life. Sarah filed for divorce. She was cordial about it, for the kids' sake, but I could see the hurt in her eyes every time we had to talk. The lawyers got involved. We divided everything. The house. The savings. Custody of Ethan and Maddie. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. The kind of place with thin walls and carpet that smells like the 90s. Every other weekend, my kids would come stay with me. And every time they left, the silence was deafening. Jennifer and Mark's divorce was messier. There were fights about money. About their daughter. Mark told everyone who would listen what Jennifer had done. Made her out to be a villain. And maybe she was. Or maybe we both were. Maybe when you hurt people you love, you don't get to decide whether you're the villain or the victim. Tom and Rachel tried counseling. They really did. But the trust was broken. Rachel couldn't stop thinking about Tom's messages to Jennifer. About how he'd said things to her he never said to Rachel. About how he'd checked his phone constantly, hoping for a notification. They separated 6 months after everything came out. Another marriage destroyed. The community meeting I mentioned at the beginning? That was real. Someone organized it at the local rec center. Parents from the school. Neighbors. People who were concerned about the moral fabric of the community. My name came up. So did Jennifer's. People said we'd set a bad example. That affairs like ours hurt everyone, not just the people involved. I wasn't there. I couldn't face it. But Sarah told me about it later. She said it was awful. That people acted like they'd never made mistakes. Like they were perfect. But here's what nobody talks about when they gossip about affairs. They don't talk about the why. They don't talk about how marriages die slowly, one ignored conversation at a time. How people drift apart without even noticing until they wake up one day next to a stranger. I'm not making excuses. What I did was wrong. But it didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened because I was broken. Because my marriage was broken. Because I chose the easy escape instead of doing the hard work of fixing what was real. It's been 2 years since that friend request. 2 years since I destroyed everything. Sarah has moved on. She's dating someone new. A good guy apparently. Someone who treats her the way I should have. I'm happy for her. I really am. Even though it hurts to see pictures of her smiling with someone else. To know my kids call him by his first name. To know I was replaced. Jennifer moved away. Left Riverside about a year ago. Too many people knew her story. Too many judgmental eyes. I heard she's in Columbus now. Single. Trying to rebuild her relationship with her daughter. We don't talk anymore. Sometimes I wonder if she thinks about me. If she regrets it all. Or if she's moved on completely. Tom and Rachel got back together. Against all odds. They went to therapy. Really committed to it. They're still working through things, but they're trying. I saw them at the grocery store a few months ago. They didn't see me. Or maybe they pretended not to. Either way, I was glad they'd found a way back to each other. My kids are okay. Or they will be. Therapy helps. They're angry with me sometimes. Especially Ethan. He's at that age where he understands what I did. Where he sees me as flawed. As human. Maddie's younger. She still hugs me. Still tells me she loves me. But I know she's hurt too. I know she wonders why mommy and daddy don't live together anymore. And I have to carry that guilt every single day. I'm different now. Not better necessarily. Just different. More aware. More careful. I've been in therapy for a year and a half. Working through why I did what I did. Understanding that I was looking for external validation instead of fixing internal problems. Learning that happiness isn't something someone else can give you. It's something you have to build yourself. Do I regret it? Every single day. Not just because I got caught. But because of what I destroyed. Because 3 marriages that might have been saved with honesty and effort ended because we chose lies and escape. Because kids grew up in broken homes. Because people who trusted us learned that trust is fragile. But here's the thing I haven't told you yet. The thing that keeps me up at night. 6 months ago, I got a message on Facebook. From a woman named Kelly Turner. I didn't recognize the name. Her profile was private. But the message said, "We need to talk about Jennifer Miller." I almost didn't respond. Almost blocked her. But something made me click. Kelly told me she was Jennifer's best friend from college. That Jennifer had confided in her about everything. About me. About Tom. About her marriage. But Kelly told me something that Jennifer never had. That I wasn't Jennifer's first affair. That there had been others. 3 others over the course of her marriage to Mark. That she had a pattern. That she'd go on Facebook, find old friends, old boyfriends, reconnect with them, and start something. That I was just the latest in a long line of men she'd used to feel alive. I didn't believe it at first. Told Kelly she had to be lying. But she sent me screenshots. Messages between her and Jennifer where Jennifer talked about other men. Talked about how easy it was to make them fall for her. How she got a thrill from it. And there I was. Mentioned by name. She told Kelly I was sweet but desperate. That I was easy to manipulate. That I'd probably do anything she asked. Everything I thought I understood about what happened changed in that moment. I'd convinced myself that Jennifer and I had this special connection. That what we had was real. That we were 2 lonely people who found each other. But I was just another game to her. Another ego boost. Another way to escape her boredom. And Tom. Kelly told me Jennifer had been planning to leave Mark for Tom. Not for me. That she'd been using me to make Tom jealous. That the whole time we were together, she was playing both of us against each other. That's why she'd kept the emotional affair with Tom going. She was hedging her bets. Seeing which one of us would leave our wives first. And when neither of us did fast enough, when everything blew up, she lost both of us. I don't know why Kelly told me all of this. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she thought I deserved to know. Maybe she was just tired of keeping Jennifer's secrets. But knowing the truth didn't make me feel better. It made everything worse. Because it meant I destroyed my marriage for someone who never cared about me at all. So that's my story. The affair that started with a Facebook friend request. The affair that destroyed 3 marriages. The affair that taught me that running from your problems never works. Because wherever you go, you take yourself with you. And if you're not willing to fix what's broken inside, you'll just break other people too. I think about that night all the time. The night I accepted that friend request. How different my life would be if I'd just ignored it. If I'd put down my phone and gone to bed. If I talked to Sarah about how I was feeling instead of seeking validation from a stranger. But I can't change the past. None of us can. We can only learn from it. If you're in a marriage that's struggling, talk about it. Be honest. Be vulnerable. Do the hard work. Because the alternative, the escape, the affair, it's not worth it. It doesn't fix anything. It just breaks more things. And the guilt, the shame, the loss, you carry that forever. And if you're thinking about reconnecting with an old flame on social media, if you're feeling lonely and looking for something to fill that emptiness, stop. Think about what you have. Think about what you could lose. Because a Facebook friend request isn't just a click. It's a choice. And that choice has consequences. I'll never know if Sarah and I could have made it work. If we'd gone to counseling. If I'd been honest about my unhappiness. If we'd both tried harder. Maybe we would have ended up divorced anyway. Or maybe we'd be happy now. Maybe we'd have figured it out. But I took that possibility away when I chose someone else over the woman who'd given me 18 years of her life. 3 marriages ended because of a lie. Because of a fantasy. Because people chose to run instead of stay. And the sad part is, none of us ended up where we thought we would. Jennifer's alone. I'm alone. Tom and Rachel are barely hanging on. Mark's bitter and angry. Sarah's rebuilding with someone else. And our kids, all of our kids, they're the ones paying the price for decisions they didn't make. So here's my question for you. The one I want you to think about. The one I should have asked myself before any of this started. Is the fantasy worth losing the reality? Is the excitement of something new worth destroying something you've built for years? Is the temporary feeling of being wanted worth the permanent damage you'll cause? For me, the answer is no. 1,000 times no. I'd give anything to go back. To do it differently. To be the husband Sarah deserved. To be the father my kids needed. To be the man I thought I was. But I can't go back. None of us can. We can only move forward. And hope that somewhere down the line, we can forgive ourselves for the people we became in our weakest moments. Hope that the people we hurt can heal. Hope that the wreckage we caused can somehow lead to something better for everyone involved. I still have that Facebook account. I never deleted it. But I don't use it anymore. Because every time I log in, I see that friend request I accepted. That moment everything changed. And I'm reminded that sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest consequences. That one click can destroy multiple lives. That a fantasy isn't worth losing reality. And now I'm left wondering, what if Kelly's lying? What if Jennifer really did care about me? What if everything I thought I learned from this is wrong? What if I'm still being manipulated, even now, from a distance? I guess I'll never know for sure. And maybe that's the real punishment. Not just losing everything. But never knowing if any of it was real. What do you think? Was Jennifer playing me all along? Or was Kelly trying to hurt me one last time for Jennifer? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. And maybe you can see something I can't.